Hi, Nick. So we'll take you from the beginning, especially because we invoiced you separately. You didn't purchase through the catalog initially. What you're going to do is go to my.luckymarble.com, and I'll send you the link in the email and the ticket. Excuse me. As well, once you log in, I'll also provide your login and password if you don't have a copy of that. But once you're in your account, all the bits and pieces you need for building the website can be found in here. And what you can do is go right to the instructions tab, and you can go and click on web template instructions right here. The plugin instructions for the Enumo, for the blog and all that setup is in here. I'll talk about that last because that's a little bit more detailed. But if you go to the web template instructions tab, right, so I'm just going to go back step for a second, right, click the white icon here for the instructions, and then go to web template instructions. Okay, the prep, set, and go, this is a sort of you've never worked with a site before. This is to get you started. Then there's the installation, planning, preparation, working with pages. There's a lot of information in here dealing with the different components and whatnot within the site. I'm going to send you a link directly to our Blacktop V3 instructions for working with the actual pages, because I bet I can get you started a little bit faster with that. So I'm going to do a personal, I'm going to cover these things right here, right, for you, and then working with the individual bits and pieces. You can, like the website name or the tagline or the graphic logo, and I'm going to put the graphic logo in there for you anyways, and we can update your website name and your tagline at the same time. So basically it's just all you need to do is basically set up the pages you need, put the content in the pages, you get the site ready for launch, change the pictures, of course. If you want to change the pictures, you probably will, and then when it comes to getting the back end bits and pieces, that's going to take a little bit more of a learning curve. So like I said, don't bite off everything at once. Your newsletter, your blog, and all that sort of thing you can add in, and also those need to be installed to the server. We'll cover that at the very end of this video. So let's actually go and download your product so we make sure you've got everything done correctly. So I'm going to go to my download link here, and we're going to download the Expression Web 4 version right here. Okay, so I've downloaded a copy of your site. So this is exactly what I sort of recommend in the tutorials. Here is the zip file right here, and I'm going to just right click and extract. I have WinRAR, so it's going to show this, but you should just have an extract, and it's going to create a new folder on your desktop or wherever you loaded it, extracted, downloaded it to. Right. Mine defaults to the my desktop. Most people goes to their, when they download something, it goes to their downloads folder, but I recommend working off the desktop to start with because it's always easier to find things. Right, so there's the Blacktop folder right there, and what I'm going to do is fire up Expression Web 4, and I'll show you how to open up the site properly. You go to the site menu up here. I'm just going to close what I was working on. I'm going to go to Site, Open Site. I'm going to click the Browse button, and I'm going to go find my desktop. There's the desktop link right there, and there's the Blacktop folder. We click into that, we click into the next one, and then we click into the website folder. It says location website. We see all the enhancements, features, library, Enumo. Once we see all that, we're great. We just click the open button, and the open like so. Okay, and here we are. Now there's a lot of pages in here, and you're not going to need most of them. So what I suggest you do before you even start building your website is sit down with a piece of paper and start write out the names of the pages that Dave wants in the site. Okay, very first thing, it's called a storyboard. I've given you a bit of a page to work with here. If you ever want to use it, you can, document name, page title, layout, or page copied from. You can use this as a bit of a guideline if you want, but nothing beats pen and paper for this one. This is what I do when I start building a site. I write down the names of the pages that I need. That's the first thing I do. Okay, and then what I do is I actually go through the site and I take a look at each page that's been included in the website. So I'll look at the sitemap page, I'll look at the services page. I'll just preview each one in the browser like so, and I'll take a look at this page and go, okay, with this page here, with this type of layout and all the different bits and pieces, is that going to be something I need to use in my site? Is it something that's going to be useful? Right? Because there's a lot of stuff in here. And if it's not something you're going to use, what I suggest you do at the start is just move the page out of the way for now. So what you can do is you can either put everything into the Pages folder that you're not going to be using to start with, or you can create a new folder like so, and just call it old. Right? And then if you're not going to use the services page, put it into the old folder. So that way you haven't completely deleted it from the site. You can always come back to it later if you need a page like that, and you don't have to go and drag it in from another template. Right? So you go through each of these pages, right, and you see if it's something you're going to use or not use, because they all have different layouts. Right? And once you've gone through the pages in the root folder, you'd move to the Pages folder and take a look. Now, believe it or not, most people actually end up using these pages right here, because these are all pre-designed pages. They have very specific sort of layouts and needs. Like here's the About To page, right? Here's a very specific sort of layout that's about your team, right? There's member names, there's 4 boxes. We scroll down and we have a little blurb over here. There's some information, some skills here, and then there's some logos that you can put down here. So that's a very specific page layout, and you may not need that. And that's one of those things you may go, I'm going to take this page here, I'm going to put it down into my old folder because I just want to get it out of my way. Right? So anyways, I suggest to everybody in the Prep, Set, and Go guide that you review each page in your site, take a look at your list. If it's the type of page it's going to sort of the layout that's going to work for one of the pages in your list, keep it. You can always rename it. If we've got a page like clients here, okay? Now clients can easily be renamed because it has a very special component in the middle of the page here, right? And you can sort of blast through all the different bits and pieces here, right? And you can do a pop-up like so, right? You can link it to another page. So this may be good for wedding photography because it, although it's designed for clients. And if you don't want the stuff down below it, you just yank it out. It's not that hard. Same with the, this could actually be something you may use for, photography, and same with the pictures down here. So it really depends on envisioning that particular page and whether it fits into your overall plan for the website. So anyways, once you've gone through your pages, then we can take a look at the index page here. There's actually 4 different index pages. The reason I put 4 different pages in here is because the very first page right here, it's slightly different, so you'd have to look at each of them. I'll give you an example. Index 2, if we just look at this one here, it's going to have a big image in the background that just sort of sits there. It's a static image. It doesn't really do anything. If we look at Index 3, I'm just going to select that, hit F12 on my keyboard. It's going to have an image in the background, but look at the image. It just slightly moves in the background. We call that a Ken Burns effect. And it allows you to sort of have a static image that has a little bit of movement, but without having a bunch of like an image slider, right? So anyways, same with these pages here. If you want to go with the static, the regular index page that you're provided with, away you go. The index and the index 1, they're almost identical, except for if we look at the index page and then we look at the index 1, I'm going to compare them side by side here. They're identical except for this section right here. If I scroll down on the index page, this section here has pictures, right, that have a little bit of a box that pops up. This may be a better use for you in the photography because you could have pictures here, right, and point them off to somewhere else on the site. Whereas this page here, it's just content and information. So everything else in the page is identical except for those 2 sections, right? So once you've decided what pages within the template you're going to be using for the build of your site, and keep in mind if you have them all the other pages sort of stored in the old folder, then you can move ahead and start renaming the pages. Let's say you want to use this for something, but you don't want it to be called About Single. Call it wedding photos.com or whatever you want to call it. You can just click on any page and you could just simply rename it just by just like renaming any file. You double click to enable the rename function, and then boom, there you go, Bob's your uncle. You can now rename that page. Okay, now one thing I'm gonna show you something in the pages here, which is going to make your life a little bit easier, I hope, is when you open up the pages, there's these things called library includes. And in order to make a component, and let me just show you this page in a web browser. Here we have an image slider. Really cool thing. We hit next, it shows another image, and next it shows another image. In order to edit this in a design window, which most people like to do, it looks really messy because you'd actually have 3 images stacked on top of each other, and it'd be hard to find the content down below, and it makes editing the content on the page very awkward. So what we did is we took all the bits and pieces for this particular component, we put them into an include page. You can actually look at the reference right here, right? Library, components, carousels, about, right? You can go to the library, components, carousels, about, and then there's the about.html. If you're working with MS or Microsoft, you just open that page up. There's the picture right there. Now the video that I have, and I'm going to provide a link to, is going to show you exactly how to quickly and easily change pictures. But basically you just double click on the picture, right? You browse for a new one, select it. So I'll just go to my library, my components, my carousels, my about, my images folder. Oh, I'll change it to this image right here. I'll select it, click open, and OK, and boom, the picture's changed. That's how easy it can be with these particular setups. Right? I say easy because I do this every day, right? But trying to do that within the page itself would get kind of messy, right? So whenever you see one of these, boxes that say library plugin, that's what it is. It's an include component that you would actually go into your library folder. But to make things a little bit easier for you, what we've done is we've said if you right click on the component and go to the open file, so we'll use this one down here as an example. You just select it with your mouse, right click, open file, and then there's all your pictures, your member names, and the description right there. You can just scroll down, change the pics, the name, boom, save it, close the page down, and then that component is going to be updated for you. So you don't actually have to dig through the library folder yourself. Okay, so that's just some of the highlights of where to start off with. Plan your pages first. Okay, once you have your pages planned, think of the names for them. So if you use the storyboard as an example, what are the names of the pages going to be in your site? So here's the page name that you would use for, like, say, the menu button. What's the actual file name going to be? Here's an example. This is the contact page, pretty obvious. Well, what would you call it, the menu button? You'd probably just call it something very direct like contact or contact us. And the page is going to be contact.html, right? Now the page title, this is for search engines. So if we open up contact, we go to the code, to the very top, right up here, that is the page title. So this is what search engines will be looking for. It's a very important SEO tag, right? So what you'd want to do is make sure you can sort of use the storyboard as a let's call this one contact, and then the name of the photography company or the name of your friend, right? So that may be a little bit more information for the search engines, right? The visitors won't see that. And finally over here, I've just given a bit of a column here. So if you're creating new pages, like in here, we have all these pages, right? Now to create a new page, let's say we want to create a new page and we want it to be based off this 2-column right. Okay, so if I look at this in a browser, here's the page right here. I want to make a bunch of pages that are sort of similar to this one here. All I do is open up my 2-column right. I go File, Save As, Wedding Notes, whatever you want to call it, right? I click Save. A new page has been added to my folder. It's called Wedding Notes. I can now move it into the root if I want to do that. So it updates the links automatically. So that is the for the storyboard or the layout. That is what I'm sort of using. So when you write your list of pages down on your piece of paper, and you go through all the pages in your site at the very beginning, and you look at each page and you say, I can't see how I could use this page, or hey, this page might really work out well for this particular this layout. In other words, this 2-column right might work out really well for my wedding notes page. So that's where you could, just as a note for yourself, write down 2-column right. If you're just wanting to do that as a mental note to keep track of yourself. Okay. All right. So anyways, once you have all your pages figured out, you've got them named, and you've got the the layouts and all that, and you've got all the pages you're not using moved into another folder, right? What you would do is then you can go and update your menus, right, or your links, and you'll find them all here in the shared, right? There's the menu top, the off canvas, and I'm going to send you special video instructions for all that, okay? But the other thing I wanted to mention before I talk about the plugins for your Numo, for your blog and your newsletter and whatnot, is this page, the access, the HT access, the check PHP, the manage accounts, and the Numo page. Those are required for your database plugins to work. Okay, so don't delete those, leave those where they are. Just as a reminder, HT access, check PHP, manage accounts, and Numo. That's all part of the database system. So when I talk about getting rid of the pages you don't need, those ones stay where they are. Okay, so that's a little bit about it for the actual quick tour of some of the things you can do in building the website and where to start with. Now I'm going to send you up here. I'm going to send you a link to this place in my blog right here, which actually has some very specific instructions on working with the different bits and pieces for the index page and the rest of the pages in your site. So let me just pull it up right here. We call it the tips and tutorials page. It's in addition to the other instructions that you have through your account. So I'm going to send you a link to this page here, and basically these are some of the off-canvas menu right here. There's a YouTube video, and what the off-canvas menu is this guy right here, right? How to update this. That is right here as one of the first things. How to update the website name, the graphic logo, right? The different bits and pieces of the pages are all right there. And then there's tips and tutorials by individual page. So there's the index page there, and there's the different bits and pieces of the index page with, if you want to learn how to update a certain thing, boom. And I suggest when you take a look at each page, consider the bits and pieces in the pages you may not need. You can just delete them off the page, right? So that way you're not looking at tutorials, you're not learning things you don't need to learn about. So then there's the about page, right? Section heading, about carousel, the what's new, right? It'll start to make sense when you actually pull that page up and you go, what do you mean the about carousel? Well, it actually shows you, if we open up the about page, right? There's the about carousel right there. If we scroll down a little bit, team carousel. See with a library plugin, and it actually describes what that particular item is. Well, that's what these instructions are designed to do here. It's the about carousel right there. There's the team carousel. There's the what's new, and if you look in the page, what's new. So you can sort of line up the sections of the page that we're describing in the tutorials with what we're actually talking about there. Now the last thing would be the Numo instructions there, the database bits and pieces. Now what we do with that is we actually get those installed to your server. Okay, now we can do that for you, not a problem. But in a nutshell, it's something where we would go and let me just get back here. Let's go to the first thing we need to do is actually click on the license information right here. We're going to go to the license tab right here, and we're just going to tell the plugins what URL they're going to be installed to, so that way they know where they're communicating with. Okay, so you basically just hit the proceed button, type in the name of the website, hit proceed. Okay, that's step number one. So just to go back here, when you first log into your site, there's a black top, there's the license information tab. Click that, and you can do this anytime you want. Hit the proceed button, type in your domain name right here. Don't type in the www, just the domainname.com. Okay, that's step number one. Then the next thing we're going to do is go to the instructions tab right here, and we're going to go to the plugin instructions, and not the plugin instructions, I'm sorry. We're going to go to web apps, And here's all the different instructions for the apps, but we can also hit the install button. Now there's some information we'll need from your web host, and I'm going to send that in the ticket in the email as well. And basically it's just your FTP information and it's your database information. And the bit of information I'm sending is actually something you can copy and paste and send it to your web host, and it basically says, hey, I'm installing an application to my website and I need a database created. Could you guys do that for me and then provide the following information, which is the FTP information and the database name, the database host, login and password. And then we can take that information, hit the install Numo button, and get that all installed for you. Anyways, so I'm going to end it with that. I think that's a lot of information to digest at one point, but I wanted to get you going on the right track as quickly as possible.